Hello, I'm Stephen Pegge. I'm Head of External Affairs for Lloyds TSB. I look after the commercial side of the bank, which is small and medium-sized business, and we have nearly 1 million customers around the country who at the moment are going through some difficult times. Planning is the key to this, and this session's about planning. Well, it's always good to hear when a business has got a plan, because many businesses don't, and even better to hear when a business is considering reviewing it, especially in the current circumstances. The evidence is actually that the businesses that plan are much more successful, and we think that's because the ideas are better thought through, that it's a good vehicle for communication with stakeholders, staff, suppliers, financiers, and it's also a basis for monitoring, so you know where you are on the way to hitting your objectives. If businesses don't plan, at best they're going to miss opportunities, particularly in a fast-moving climate like at the moment. But it could be even worse than that. It could be a real risk to survival when things hit you that you're not expecting or haven't got a plan to survive. So the key elements right now are, first of all, to look at the biggest uncertainty, demand, and secondly, to consider the finance situation. So what are the key elements right now? Well, the biggest uncertainty is demand, and many planners do what's called top-line analysis. It's a simple thing really. It's about sales revenue, what you're going to get in terms of income from your customers. And your own existing customers is the place to start. What are their plans? How are things going to change? What can you do to help them work through this difficult time? How can you make sure you retain them? Because you can bet your competitors are going to be after your customers. But equally, your customers may be prepared to refer new customers to you. If they're very happy with your service, they may have good ideas as to who you could potentially attract as new sources of income. Equally, some of your competitors, especially if they're having difficulties at the moment, may be losing their customers. For those people, it's a real problem if they haven't got a supplier. If you can pick up the opportunity to supply them, then you can help them through and win long-term business. The second main issue is finance at the moment. Now, of course, having a customer is one thing, getting paid is another one. And the biggest issue for many businesses at the moment is late payment and bad debts. That means people not paying on time and people not paying at all. Cash flow needs need to reflect reality. And reality may be that where you were getting payment in 45 days, you're now getting paid in 70 days. But plans should be more than just extrapolating into the future what you're experiencing at the moment. It ought to be about what you can do to manage the situation. How can you improve your processes through credit checks, invoicing, chasing up more frequently, and yes, making sure you've got sufficient facilities in place. Clearly the level of overdraft needs to be sufficient, not just for what you think you might need, but a little cushion beyond that as well. And think about other sources of finance for cash flow and working capital. Factoring and invoice discounting can provide really useful lines of credit, but equally support for helping you manage your debtors. But even the best laid plans are subject to uncertainty, particularly in a volatile market. So a lot of businesses are using scenario planning now, simply just looking at the most optimistic outcome, a realistic one, and a pessimistic one. Even the most optimistic scenario can require more finance, interestingly, because of course, if you're having to supply a greater level of services or products, you may need to build capacity. You may need to stock up. You may need to extend more credit to those greater number of customers that you've got. The realistic scenario may be slightly a touch down on where it was before, and the pessimistic one will challenge yourself. Think about what you'd do if sales went down by 20% or 40%. If you can share that with your lenders and other suppliers, you'll give them confidence that you've got contingency plans in place, and that will enable them to give you the kind of support that you need. But you need to monitor this. You need to monitor it frequently, probably weekly at the moment, rather than just monthly.